Good evening, Range of Beauties, and welcome to the Pink Politics Show. Last Thursday, the 6th Democratic primary debate was held at a left-leaning university in Los Angeles. But it feels kind of weird, surprising, surreal even, that the debate wasn't held at a Hollywood studio. To be honest, I thought that it would have been more fitting if this debate was held at a movie studio instead of the 5th debate that took place last month. But what am I trying to say? Well, in case you've forgotten, the last Democratic primary debate was held at a movie studio in Atlanta. Now, if the Democrats were able to think clearly, they would have made Spelman College, my alma mater, the venue for the debate, since Black American women voters have, up until now, been a key Democratic voting bloc who may or may not prove critical in their electoral success. The Democratic Party, however, is a confused, or better yet, inverted and stubborn organization that prioritizes illegal immigrants over Black American women's community, despite the fact that we can vote and illegal immigrants can't, or at least they shouldn't be able to. So we really shouldn't be surprised that they mixed up the venues of the debates, which the boss, Mike Bloomberg, should have designed to follow the sequence we just mentioned. Bloomberg, in fact, should have knocked on the door of Stacey Snider, the CEO of 20th Century Fox. He should have simply told her that he needed to use her palatial fortress and gigantic studio to display his cast of characters to Black American women voters. Snider, we're sure, would have agreed because it is, after all, Hollywood, and actors like Biden, Warren, and Sanders, who are playing the roles of politicians, belong there. Anywho, with less than 7 weeks into the Iowa caucuses, the 6th so-called debate was defined by being the smallest stage yet. Kamala Harris, the bogus candidate who Bloomberg chose to specifically target Black American women voters, dropped out of the political contest earlier this month after she realized that she couldn't fool Black American women voters with her stereotypical sister girl act. But she wasn't the only candidate that Black American women voters gave the cold shoulder to. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, who isn't quite smart enough to be what he wants to be, which of course is the next Barack Obama, didn't qualify for last Thursday's debate. Harris and Booker were two of the more notable Democratic presidential hopefuls not present on the debate stage, but in fact a host of other candidates, including Money Mike himself, weren't there either. Booker, unlike Harris, has yet to call it quits. During the debate, he aired a national television ad taking a clever shot at the boss and underboss of the Democratic Party, which is the aforementioned Michael Money Mike Bloomberg and Tom the Wall Street swindler Steyer. Booker is obviously not too happy about being shoved by his political party's bosses. But speaking of the radical left party's bosses, you know things are bad when the boss and the underboss of the Democratic Party have joined the Democratic presidential primaries. If these were what they considered normal times, Bloomberg and Steyer would have never debated, attacked, or ran against their own employees for the Democratic presidential nomination. They would have rather stayed in the shadows and watched the hand-picked, dutiful employees fight it out for the coveted Democratic presidential nomination. But these aren't normal times for them, or their subordinates. Bloomberg's Democratic agenda, which features uncontrolled immigration and subversive trade deals, has been supplanted by a nationalist agenda ever since Hillary Clinton, one of his most loyal stooges, lost the 2016 presidential election. This electoral defeat signaled that they were not only living in abnormal times, but also uncertain times. Some of Bloomberg's flunkies in the mainstream media have told him that the changes brought about by the incumbent president and today's Republican Party will become entrenched and thus irreversible if the president wins a second term. The future of his Democratic Party and agenda is indeed bleak. So he and Steyer have entered the presidential election out of desperation and a lack of confidence in the presidential candidates that they've sent out to run. The boss and the underboss have decided to take on the disruptive political firebrand who lives at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue themselves. But only Tom Steyer took the debate stage on Thursday night. Here's what he had to say during his speech.
I'm different from everybody else on this stage, and here's why. I'm running because corporations have bought our government, and we need to return power to the people. And for the last 10 years, that's exactly what I've been doing, taking on unchecked corporate power.
I'm different from everybody else on this stage. I'm running because corporations have bought our government. Well, I bet you are different from everyone else on that stage. Nobody else is a multi-billionaire. And besides, that's nothing to brag about when you consider how many Black American lives he's shattered on Main Street. Now, I think we can all agree that Steyer's economic arrogance and political hubris have clearly set in. Let's just hope that they're the forerunner of his political end. Steyer's next sentence is a classic example of projection. According to the Democratic Party's Underboss, corporations have bought our government. Is he serious? As usual with Democrats, they project onto others the sins that they themselves commit in overplus. Steyer, who has a history of using money to influence politics, is attributing this corrupt behavior to these nameless, faceless political rivals by saying that corporations have bought our government. Now, the other 6 Democrats vying to unseat the incumbent president in 2020 continue to pander to Bloomberg and Steyer with the same silly talking points. Biden said, "We need to restore the integrity of the presidency." In other words, my boss, who's standing right next to me, wants me to win the White House in 2020 so that I can reinstate the Democratic agenda. None of the Democratic presidential candidates presented policies that will help Black American women and our communities. So if you ask me who won the Democratic debate, I'd say no one. Biden, Sanders, Warren, and all the rest missed the opportunity to win over Black American women voters during the Democratic presidential debate held at Loyola Marymount University. And it would have been fitting to present a reparations package at Loyola since it is named after a person who was a member of a religious order that had deep ties to slavery. Thank you for joining us. I'm Taylor Washington, and this is Pink Politics, where Black womanhood and politics converge.